often told that less is more, and in an era where there is more seasonal slop anime than ever, and people still think higher interpolated frame rates makes anime OPs better, it feels like anime fans sometimes forget this lesson. We're drowning in lower quality content. More and more, we expect less and less. Recently, an otome isekai anime of all genres was the one that reminded me of the joys of less. This is My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom movie. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that every time, and we'll call it the hamefura movie for short. But anyways, this is not a series I expect much from. The TV series was functional enough, gaining popularity primarily through its comedy and charismatic lead. But the movie really stepped things up though, indulging in 3D tracking shots, crafting striking visuals through lighting, and overwhelming viewers with an action-packed, climactic battle featuring a huge CG bird monster. What I found most fascinating about the film, though, came when it was at its calmest, when our two leads, Katarina and Akil, were alone and surrounded by empty space. Now, when I say empty space, I am referring to the parts of the frame that are not the subject, also known as white or negative space. This area of the picture lacks detail and is not intended to be the focus of the viewer. Sometimes it's just nondescript furniture or crowds, other times it is literally black. But that doesn't mean the space is truly empty. It is, in fact, full of meaning and a little bit of psychology. That's right, even if you do absolutely nothing, you are still evoking something in the viewer. Art is kind of funny like that. Let's go back to our two protagonists. Katarina and Akil meet without knowing each other's true identities or histories. As a result, there's so much hidden between them, things they aren't aware of, but we are. Katarina is the fiancée of the third prince of Sorcier, and also holds memories of her previous life in Japan. Akil is a prince of Murtak masquerading as a circus performer. So when the two meet, how do you clue in the viewer that these characters aren't being fully honest with one another? You create imbalance in the frame. In film, this is a technique known as short-sighting. I talked about this in my overtake video, but short-sighting is when your character faces the side of the frame closest to them. As a result, there's unused space behind the character and visual imbalance in front of your eyes. This positioning also feels claustrophobic. These characters feel much too close in this conversation without the breathing room that comes from standard long sighting. This produces a sense of imbalance, and people don't typically like that. They like compositions with equally distributed weight. They like when the frame feels stable. When you defy these expectations, the viewer now fills in the blanks with their own emotions. Sometimes that can be isolation, other times it is discomfort. Or for these two characters, it suggests that there's more going on than what Katarina and Akil are saying out loud. When Akil says, "I can't promise anything," you know that there is an unspoken reason. When Katarina admits she knows the true purpose of Akil's visit, you know that there's a memory of Katarina's past life unseen by Akil. And when Akil reacts to that comment, you can practically see the gears turning in his head. There's even a fun little play on this framing when Akil accuses Katarina of purposely misleading him. He feels defensive and betrayed, but when Katarina sincerely says it wasn't her intention, he changes from facing the short side of the frame to the long side, his doubts alleviated. The long side of the frame is in fact full of the story's implications, inner character thoughts, and your feelings. There are also some additional uses of negative space that are worth highlighting. Even in long-sided shots, negative space can imply a larger composition beyond the frame. In this shot, Katarina and Akil are looking at the faraway side of the screen when Akil hints that they are being watched. Sure enough, the next shot cuts to a bird in the distance spying on them. The once empty space becomes balanced by the bird. The hamefura movie also makes generous use of wide shots of our two leads. All this negative space could feel isolating and overwhelming, But the film turns these scenes into intimate affairs. The scale of these shots can accentuate both Akio's loneliness during his childhood and the warm amity of Katarina and Akio's newfound friendship. Negative space is such a cool technique because it is so versatile cinematically, yet economic in terms of implementation. Hamefura is not a series with a ton of production highs, and while the movie does have a more refined sense of direction than the TV series, there isn't anything too crazy. But even without the insane animation highs of Look Back or the intricate symbolism of Mononoke, the Hamefura movie demonstrates that you can still elevate your story by paying attention to framing, blocking, and emptiness. For something called negative space, it leaves behind a lot of positives.